I hope that everyone can hear me. Let me see. Yes, I'll start. Hi, and welcome everyone to this Novelty Incubase Startup Talk. Today's talk is held with Rik Stamhuis from Jiro-Ve, if I pronounced it correctly, with the mission to provide everyone on Madagascar with durable and affordable energy. Welcome, Rik. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Thank you. No, you did a quite a job. It's Jiro-Ve.
Also, a special word of welcome.
With a Dutch accent, that's correct.
Okay, thanks. Also, a special word of welcome to our Novelty Advanced community and the members of Incubase. My name is Tim de Wolf, and I'm part of the Startup Acceleration team of Novelty. And we organize these talks to give you access to some of the greatest startup founders, who you can ask all your startup-related questions. We obviously cannot organize these talks alone, so a big thank you to Joe Laufer and the Alumni Office for fixing these guests. And before I give it over to Mr. Entertainment and Education, Peter Langela, who will guide you through all these questions you have. Thanks for that, Peter. If you are a guest at this talk, and if you're interested in innovative entrepreneurship, we hope that you go to novelty.com/start, where we can help you by, for instance, our Start Bootcamp or our Start program. At the end of this talk, I'll come back to wrap things up and to announce the next talks. And for now, if anyone has a question, you can ask it in the chat so you can get your turn from Peter. But for now, the floor is all yours, Peter. Enjoy, everyone.
Hello, everyone, and especially Rik. Welcome in this startup talk from far away, long distance. Where are you now?
I'm actually in Madagascar right now, in the main capital, which is called Antananarivo.
Wow. Well, before we going to speak about Madagascar and what you're doing currently, I want to jump back in time. The time that you were a student, like many in the audience. You studied before you came to Twente in Zwolle, right?
That's correct.
Windesheim. What did you do?
I did industrial management.
Industrial management. And what was the reason you choose that direction?
I thought it was like it was quite a nice mix. On one hand, I really was into products and industrial things. But I kind of also what I missed when I just looked into that direction itself was more of like the other aspects that come along with it, which is the business side of things and the marketing. So that led me to industrial management, which I felt was like a nice combination of all these different elements.
Okay, nice. And what I read on your LinkedIn profile, that you also were in Jönköping, if I pronounce it correctly, in Sweden.
That's correct. Yeah. So I kind of used my studies as a way to go abroad as many times as I possibly could, and that led me to Sweden as well.
Okay, nice. And then came the moment that you say, I want to do a master, and your choice was Twente, University of Twente. What made you choose? You're choosing for Twente.
So I came from Zwolle. It was to me like I really liked the fact that it was very internationally orientated. What it also was suitable for was the connection with my previous study. I had to do a pre-master, which was taking me 6 months. But then I used the other 6 months to, you guess it, go traveling again, and then visited the States then. But yeah, like I really liked I paid a visit, and I really liked the setting. The ambiance, and that led me to subscribe to a master at Twente.
Nice. And what is, if you remember back, this was 10 years ago or so, what were for you the highlights in Twente?
Well, so I really liked how it was very flexible. So you could, it was all about like the outputs, the deliverables were really clear, and I've really felt like there was a lot of flexibility around how you could manage your own time and how to achieve those deliverables. And to me, I was positively surprised because I had to come from Zwolle as well, so there was a commute. But I was surprised at how easy it was to just do work either from already a distance or like to plan yourself nicely.
Yeah, you live in Zwolle, you studied in Twente. Did you enjoy any student life in and around Enschede?
Yes, of course. That's inevitable, isn't it?
Nice, nice. From Twente, you did some internships. But one question: if I look to your career and your studies, the word international is popping up all the time. You're very international oriented. Where's it coming from?
That's a good question. I think I think it maybe has to do with the fact that I moved when I was 15 years old, and that meant that I had to change school when I was still doing the HAVO, and I was in the 4th year, but I had to change when I was going to the 5th year. So I kind of had to then start all over again. So that kind of broke me out of really out of my comfort zone, so to say. And I think I've always had like already an interest in going going abroad, but that led it to by having to do that already then at that age, I think made it easier for me to then follow up with that.
And during your study, did you had the idea of being an entrepreneur and doing a startup, or came it on your way?
So that's a good question. I've always had a lot of ideas, but I wouldn't necessarily always act on them. Rather, I would just like find myself sitting on in my room, just thinking about them and just kind of remaining stuck in brainstorming mode, so to say. And I guess that's what also it comes down again to that comfort zone that I was referring to earlier. Like, I think I needed something like this just to make the step of going into entrepreneurship.
Nice. So one of the first things you went to tough stuff, a social enterprise. So 2 questions: what is tough stuff, and what is a social enterprise?
Yeah, so Tough Stuff was a company that was selling solar products, and I was first did my internship with them for my master actually, and it was based around loyalty. So loyalty of shop owners in Kenya, and it was their model was to sell either directly through the market their solar products. It is really aiming at people that have very little means and how to make solar products available to this particular group. So what they kind of had was in their project portfolio was that it was very modular. So you could first start with the panel and just the light, and then slowly expand it as you would have additional means. But at that time, solar products were still really new. So it was quite, they couldn't just like, use the existing retail that was there and expect the products just to sell because people just didn't know well enough the advantages of solar products yet. So we had to be very innovative and look for a lot of different other ways. So by partnering, for instance, with the NGOs or aid organizations, just to get our products to be known. And a social enterprise basically is just it means that it's not just the finances that count, but also the impact that you're making as a company. And that, I believe, sets apart a social enterprise. Although I believe that in today's world, I don't think we should make these differentiations anymore between, companies either social or not. I believe every company nowadays should be social.
But our company is social and is making profit not social, or how do you mean it?
What I mean with, I think in the past that that would all be what companies would be having to that they were held accountable for. Whilst in today's world, there are other things that have become increasingly more of importance. So we can talk about environment, but how you treat your employees. So there are all these other factors, and yeah, in the supply chain as well, like how you're doing your production. Is it done in a fair way? Where's your sourcing done? So you can see that companies much less can turn a blind eye to these things. So I think in the beginning, when I still did my study of when I started my study of international management, I think globalization was this new phenomenon, and everything became. We just saw how the world changed so quickly because of it. But then I think increasingly also like some of the downsides of it have become more clear. And I think a really great advantage right now is that customers and customers are very much more aware of where their products are coming from. So I think more and more companies are forced to have more of a social purpose, a social mission.
Yes. Yes, I agree on that. It's very interesting that you adopted this in an early stage, and but it's still you are still in that area, right? This is something, it catches you in some way.
Yeah, correct. So we're not working in a vacuum anymore. Like we're all connected, right? Whether someone emits CO2 in Europe or here, we're all emitted in the same planet. So it's if you see how once customers start to develop themselves, and then as a result, how their energy consumption increases. If you can already at a very early stage make sure that people get to know the advantages that renewable energy can bring, then you already set them up to a path of using that as their energy consumption increases. So that's, I think, also one of the interesting things about what we're doing here. So as Jiro-Ve, we're trying to make, that's the company that I created now here, that I co-founded here in Madagascar. And our objective is to make renewable energy accessible to everybody here in Madagascar.
Okay, because we are jumping now into Jiro-Ve, and that's nice. In between, you had also some ventures, Bushproof and Chameleon Rose or Rosé. I'm not sure if I.
Chameleon Rose, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So also interesting projects in this line.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just give a little bit of a timeline. So from my work at Tough Stuff, afterwards that was in Kenya, and so I worked part of my time in Kenya and then also in Rwanda. Then afterwards, I moved to Madagascar, and in Madagascar, I first joined a company that's called Bushproof, and they mainly they're specialized in water and making boreholes and making water available to people here that need it most. So I joined them, and they had already branched out a little bit into the solar space, but that's the part that I ended up taking over, and that now became Jiro-Ve. In the meantime, there's also indeed Chameleon Rose. That's a company started by my wife. We met here in Madagascar. So yeah, it's been really great to actually have these two companies going on at the same time, because Jiro-Ve is quite focused here on the local market, whilst her business is very much internationally oriented. So it's been really nice to actually have those two going on at the same time.
Nice to hear that. And then Madagascar, because Madagascar, I had to honestly to look it up where it is precisely. I knew it, of course, from some nice movies and from the super good vanilla that is grown there. That's why it's famous. But you went with a total different goal. What was so appealing on Madagascar, except for your wife?
You're completely, you're not the only one. Like it's been really challenging to get people to understand where Madagascar is. It's not the country that a lot of people will know from the movies. But it's, yeah, like it's good that you showed down the maps, like on the right side next to it.
I have here the Google Maps, and here is Madagascar. So let's zoom out where we are, somewhere here.
Yeah.
And you are
So,
here, far away. How far is it?
yes. Yeah. So a little bit down, and there you see Antananarivo in the center. And Madagascar is actually a really big island. You know, a lot of people just underestimate the size of it. So it's about 2,400 kilometers from north to the south.
It's one of the three biggest islands in the world, by the way.
Sorry?
It's one of the three biggest islands in the world.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. So if any of you guys are bored of sitting at home and you can easily work wherever you can possibly work, then Madagascar could be a very great place to take into consideration.
Cool. Oh yeah, I'm back. I just pushing some buttons here, but that is one thing, going to Madagascar, and then you set up your company, Jiro-Ve. What does it mean, by the way, the name?
So Jiro-Ve stands for Do you want light? We have light. So what we're focusing on is like a lot of people, because they have very little purchasing power, they're forced to use candles and kerosene on a daily basis. So that's what they'll still be using for their lighting. And this is still like a very dangerous and polluting way of creating light, obviously. But unfortunately, they don't have much of another option because of the little money they have available to themselves on a daily basis. They can't afford buying some of the great solar products that are already out there on the market. So what we've done, we've created a network of franchisees. So these are local entrepreneurs, and we find them, we train them, and then they are responsible for setting up their own business. So that's not us. They find their own customers, and once they can show that they have a certain number of customers, we equip them with a solar system, and that solar system they use to recharge the lights during the day, and then the customers they use the lights overnight, and then the following morning the cycle starts again.
Okay.
We really built this model from nothing. Me and my colleague here, Tahir, we went out in a Jiro-Ve to find our first entrepreneur, and as it turned out, we were after 2 hours of driving. I offered that I would take the wheel also to do a bit, and when we were approaching the first bump that I wanted to brake for it, the Jiro-Ve didn't turn out to have any brakes. So ever since that, it's been a journey without any brakes, and it has led us to where we are today.
Yeah, well, I see when you tell it, I see a lot of passion and a big smile on your face. So you really enjoy this, that this happened, right?
Yeah. So, but you know, look, it's been a very full journey. But what I was, it's a journey full of like very high ups and very deep downs, and I think that's a lot of entrepreneurs will be able to tell you the same thing. But I think especially for like a country like Madagascar, those ups and downs are even a bit more extreme, because you're very much here on your own. You have very much less of a support network. So you can't just you can't play the victim. You have to really take charge. And if things go wrong, there's no one else to blame than other than yourself.
Okay, and you started the company. You have created actually a lot of jobs in between. You initiate other startups. Do you have any competition there in this area, in solar panels or electricity generation?
Well, our biggest competitor is still candles and kerosene by far. This is this is what people still use. Then another type of product that has been developed is pay-as-you-go. And pay-as-you-go is like a solar home system that has some software in it. So then people, they have to pay a certain fee every day. And if they don't, then their system is blocked automatically. But this caters for a slightly more wealthy customer group than we are targeting. You have to know that like 92% of people in Madagascar are living on less than $2 a day.
Wow.
And even 75% lives on less than $1 a day. So these are, like, try to imagine, right? That will be your budget you could have to spend on a daily basis. So it's another thing that's also difficult for people is that on top of that, their income is often not stable. So you'd have some person that's, you know, it's often linked to agriculture. So if they have had their harvest, people have money. But then, because they're not used to have money, they would often spend it on the, you know, it's very quickly spent, and then they're being left, without for the period after.
Okay, interesting to hear. Already some questions are coming in from the audience, so I want to invite some people to open the microphone, like Alexander. What is your question, Alexander?
Hi, my question was a bit about the solar panels themselves. You said that you had franchisees who then distribute the energy, I guess, to the actual consumers. Do you sell them these solar systems, or is it like they rent the solar systems and then they can sell it for like their own business model?
That's a great question. So we actually we don't sell it. No, that is modular. So when a franchisee starts, they with the first system that solar system that we equip them with, and charge up to 200 lights. So that's kind of the first step. And once they then can prove to us that this is something they can, you know, that's a level that they can grow comfortably up towards, then and sustain, then we can make their system bigger over time. So, for example, we have franchisees that rent out up to 1,000 lights every single day. But our model is very much bottom up. So if, you know, the market is there, if the demand is there, then we can cater for it depending on the need.
So just, sorry if I follow up, you said that they can rent up to like 1,000 lights. So then is it the price based on how many lights they can provide an energy for, or is it based on how much energy that they actually take?
It's commission based. So if they would rent out a certain number of lights, we split the commission with them, and we take everything upon us from when it comes to maintenance, making sure that they get the business support that they need. But also after 2 years, we replace all the lights.
Nice. Thank you, Alexander. Nice questions. Also, what's coming up to my mind is, how do you finance it? Because all the equipment needs to be pre-financed.
Yeah, great question. So financing has been really challenging in the beginning for us, because we're on an... when I started JiroVe here, it was just after a political crisis. So all the donors had pulled out. And so it was not a very good investment climate here in Madagascar. And I think that's now something that unfortunately has changed over time. But we really had to first, we started with very little funds. We started with 3,000 lights. And so we had to kind of, you know, make money of renting them out. And if, for instance, one of the franchisees would drop out, then yeah, that would almost affect us immediately. So in a way, that was actually really good, because that really, you know, forced us to take our customers extremely serious. And it's because we're providing a service. If the service is not up to standard, people are not by any means forced to use it, right? So they can just leave it. So that really means that we have to give people the service that they deserve.
Nice. Okay. Joy, you have also a question to Tim. Please ask it.
Hi. Yes, very, very interesting. I mean, I've done a lot of work on energy in sub-Saharan Africa. And particularly with small businesses. So I'm just a bit surprised we never met, because I've been at the UT for quite some years. So but never mind. You answered one of the questions, which was about maintenance, because it's one thing selling, but you know, the maintenance is also an issue. And you're right, Madagascar. I mean, Madagascar is a huge island, and so you know, sort of transport links must be quite difficult to manage, particularly in the rainy season. So, but Do you also offer solar lanterns? Because I mean, they've been incredibly popular, particularly where they offer a phone charger as well. Do you do that as part of your portfolio?
Yeah, great questions, and really appreciate you sharing also your experience. And you're completely right about your comment with the rain season. It's like here, whenever the rain season starts, transport becomes much more difficult. So we are having a quite decentralized system. So we would have an area coordinator in each of the regions that we are active, and they are going and visiting our franchisees on a weekly basis to give them the support that they need. But it's, starting something, I believe everybody can do it. It's maintaining and sustaining it. That's where I feel like you really can set yourself apart. So what we've done till now is we've rented out these solar lights. This is an example.
Yeah.
So these have been the lights that we've been renting out. But recently, we've been actually working on our own product, which recently acquired also a label of the Solar Impulse Foundation, and it's actually a power bank. So this is just a power bank as how you would know it from at home.
Oh yeah.
But now you just plug in like a little light, or you can recharge your phone.
That I'm sure it's going to be a really very popular product. Can I have one more question?
One more question, Joy. Yes.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of questions, but if I can have Rik's email, I will send him some information. You say you have agents. Are they all men, or do you have men and women?
Men and women, yes.
Good. That's the right answer, Rik.
Okay, Rik, maybe this is a nice moment not to look to the video. It's a 1-minute video on your website. And there is a woman explaining about how she experienced working with you, right? So if I correctly, you see now the website. Oh, no, you see Google Maps, but now you see the website. And here I start the video.
They're very interesting for me because I have a newborn and these lights can stay on until the morning.
What is special here is we distribute electricity. Solar panels on the roof recharge all the equipment here.
JiroVe brought us light. Before we had none here. Now the village and the school are supplied. I'm happy I became a businesswoman. My children can eat normally and they all go to school. Since my mother uses the lights, I'm better.
Nice video, and also partly answering Joy's question. What did we see, Rik? Can you explain a little bit about the video?
Yeah, so this really this was recorded here around Antananarivo, where we are active, and these are just franchisees of ours that are working on the stone throw distance of our office, and what you were just seeing were just like customers that normally would have been using candles or kerosene, but now are using our solar lights. And the franchisees that you're looking at are people that they've built up their own business. We are just providing them with the tools and the ongoing support to be successful, but it's their business.
Yeah, quite nice. And it's a social entrepreneurship. But you need to deal with non-social entrepreneurs to purchase and I don't know what you have to do. How can you make social entrepreneurship attractive to companies that are not involved in social entrepreneurship?
Well, that's a great question. I do think that what we touched on earlier, I think that it's becoming more and more interest of companies to still to create a link with this, whether it's from an environmental perspective. Like what I would love to do in the future is to collaborate more with organizations in, for example, Europe, to see if, I showed you earlier the power bank. This is something that corporates, could give out as a corporate gift. You could easily think of a, buy one, give one model, something like that. But like I said, I think nowadays every company has an obligation to at in some way think about how they want to do good for this planet, whether that's on an environmental way or whether that's in the retail chain. For instance, to give you an example, one of our investors is Whole Planet Foundation. They are linked to Whole Foods, and they have invested in us because they want to, in every country where they are sourcing products from, they want to support entrepreneurship, and that's why they funded us. So that's just to give you one example, but like that there are many links that you could think of.
Very nice. Okay. And nice question from Joe Laufer is coming in. Joe, can I invite you to ask the question to Tim?
I'm usually a shy person, so I don't like talking by myself, but Rik, great to see Uter is making a difference in Madagascar as well.
Thank you.
And I'm curious, what are your aspirations for the future? Where do you hope to see the company in 5 years? And where do you hope to see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, I love that question. Look, I would love for our new product that we've developed to become a very sort of a mass market product. It's been like the problem that we're trying to solve is of a very massive scale. And I believe that the group that we are targeting in particular is often overlooked, unfortunately, because they are perceived as having too little funds. And if you look at, like, for instance, to give you an idea, we are renting out our lights for $6 a day. So that's very little money. But because it's every single day, that's, becomes something more. So we just kind of want to prove that there is a market, and I believe that with our current track record, we've done that successfully. But going forward, I'm very much looking into like incorporating more technology into our model. So up to date with the light rental, it's very manual. So and I believe that's why it's been successful, because we're really giving a service. But one thing that I believe does hold us a bit back is the extent to which we're successful in generating data because of its manual nature. And with the power bank, that's something that will start to generate a lot more data for us, because we've developed a smart charger that can charge up to 60 power banks at the same time. So this will, this is a product we developed ourselves, which uses a lot more software, and which we can also see easily being scaled out, not beyond Madagascar. If we would have just stuck to light rental, you're very much more dependent on certain demographics of the country where you would be going to. Whilst like with the new technology that we've now developed, it's much easier. It's more of a plug and play device, so you could just easily connect it, for example, to already an existing mini grid. So, where we really can see us going is just to address a lot more markets in sub-Saharan Africa, and really start to, right now we're in the numbers we're doing is in the thousands. We need to go to the 100,000s and even into the millions. That's where this needs to go.
Yeah,
Peter, can I ask one follow-up question?
Of course, Joe.
So how could the Utrecht University, our alumni network with many contacts with companies, how can we help you realize your dream?
Nice.
Amazing question. Yeah, like we are very much open to partnering with this. This problem is way too big just to solve by ourselves. So we need partners. We need to partner up in this. So I'm currently looking into how to make our impact that we're doing as transparent and as open as possible. So really, like, when for every bit of money that is spent, it's very clear what it results to, in terms of numbers. So yeah, this can either be from a financial nature, that could be a very interesting way of how to do this, but also spreading the word and making other, making more people aware of yeah, this group being there and how it can be served with a good solution.
Nice. Nice question, Joe. Thank you. Tamara, you've also question partly answered, I believe, but still it's an interesting question to rephrase. So may I invite you?
Yeah, I think so too. I think you already answered some things to Joe. First of all, thank you for being here today. And I think your company is doing really great work. So keep going. Yeah, my question was, do you believe your product is also needed and useful for other countries in Africa? I think you already said yes to that. But maybe also, for example, in Asia, I can imagine people experiencing similar problems over there. For example, maybe Laos or Myanmar, or yeah. Do you have plans to extend maybe in the future?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. And the answer is yes. And I believe that with the new solution that we've developed, that will become a lot easier, because it's literally just like the charger that I referred to earlier. It's a device that you can just plug into any kind of solar system, and then afterwards it can be run by any local entrepreneur for them to recharge power banks for the people that are living in their surroundings.
Nice. Thank you, Tamara. Being a social entrepreneur, you have quite some experience, and we are here in the START program. We have an incubator here in building the Bastille that you might remember in Twente. It's quite nice, quite silent in these Corona times. What could you learn startups who was a business idea and maybe dreaming of driving a Ferrari in 5 years? But maybe you can motivate them to think not about the Ferrari, but more towards social entrepreneurship. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say this: coming to Madagascar is the easiest way to become a millionaire, because every euro is like euro is about 4,500 ariary. So you just have to come over here, and then you're an instant millionaire. So, but apart from that, I would like to say that it's really rewarding and it's very fulfilling to make an impact. And you have to realize, for every single light that goes out to family here, it's life changing. People, before that they had to use candle. When I just came to Madagascar, my solar system wasn't working, and I was using a candle. And it's just completely, you're forced to kind of go to bed at 7 o'clock because it doesn't last longer than that. And we did a little photo shoot, and after half an hour, your eyes are irritated, like with the kerosene. It's bumped over, and the whole house is on fire. We had our solar lights actually coming back burned because of neighbors still using kerosene and letting their houses on fire. And as a result, some of our customers' houses actually burned down. So it's really amazing and very rewarding to make an impact. And especially, I was invited to the Global Philanthropy Forum as a speaker there. And so I was finding myself surrounded by pretty much only millionaires. That's safe to assume. And I kind of felt to myself like, I kind of felt like the odd one out. But what I really noticed there is that when I shared my story and what I was doing, I almost felt like people were envying me, because it's like, it's quite easy just to, once you have already everything taken care of, and you're in a very much of a comfort zone, and not maybe necessarily always as much excitement. And yeah, I think like this, it will definitely provide a lot of adventure and like a much more deeper purpose.
Yeah. Nice, nice. Do you get support from the local governments? Is it easy to work with them?
Yeah. So the government of Madagascar has been, it's been good that there has been a government, because when I started there was a political crisis, so that wasn't necessarily very much helping. So what I've definitely learned there was that it's better, to have at least a government. But yeah, no. What we try to do is we try to lobby, and try to get the importance of our work across. The government participated in the Day of Light. We organized an opening of one of our schools, and there the ministry was present. So this is something that we've done as well. We've electrified till date 5 schools. So there you have like one of our local franchisees, but we would then partner up with an NGO. They put in the funds to put the solar system in to electrify to provide the electricity for the neighboring school. And with our franchisee, we make sure that the sustainability factor is there. Like Joy also mentioned, it's often that's where it goes wrong. A lot of money is spent on organizations come in, they see that there's a problem, they think of the solution, they raise funds for it, the solution is being put in place, but then afterwards, like it dies down. And we just want to put whatever we put in place, we want to make sure that it is sustained. That's very important to us.
Very nice. Lars has a question in that line. Lars, can you ask a question?
Yeah. Hi, Rik. I was wondering, what's your biggest prejudice you have experienced?
Sorry, the biggest?
A prejudice. In Dutch, vooroordeel.
That's a good question. I think that depends on who it applies to, because if I've always found myself in between the local market here and in between, when I would raise investment from parties outside of Madagascar. Both have their own views. So I would find myself often like the ideas that I would, if I would have to, for instance, if I would pitch something to people outside of Madagascar, because of that, I would have to really take those things in mind when I would talk to them and how I would explain my solution to them in order to make sure that it is aligned. And I think, I think people do still perceive Africa as like, people just being poor and miserable, whilst like a lot of the people here live also great lives, It's not necessarily when you come here, all you will see is just sad, miserable people. But it's also, I think, a misperception that all people care about here are just first basic needs. It's something, of course, that we feel very inclined to want to provide to them, but people here will also have their beer, right? And even if they are poor, and you would think from a Western perspective, like, oh no, you should first spend your money on food and on first primary needs. Yeah, people here also are human and they want to have a great time. So I think it's interesting to see at times people still coming in with those perceptions. I think Africa has so much potential, and there are already so many things happening here. I see the future for Africa very, very bright, and I would encourage a lot of people actually to come and see how they could address this market. Nice. I feel that there should be a lot more entrepreneurs coming this way and seeing how they could make a difference. And also vice versa, people in entrepreneurs in Africa should get the chance to go and come to Europe to also gain more knowledge. What I've noticed myself, like I've gone abroad multiple times, and every time you go abroad, one thing that it will always do is like it opens your mind.
Yeah, it's nice that you mentioned that, Rik, and thank you, Lars, for a nice question. Because we have here in the START program also some startups from Africa with interesting ideas, and also they open your mind also in how we see foreign countries. I see it also from Asia, because we think we are the center of the world and everything is perfect. And you mentioned very nicely, there's also a normal life there. People live their lives and they do their things like we do here. And I think that is the way it is. Nice mentioned. More and more questions coming in. So this means you're all very interesting to hear. And one of the questions coming from Rens. Rens is sitting over there, is the director of this episode. And Rens, what is your question?
Hi, Rik. Thank you for your talk. I did some charity work in Ghana, Africa. And my main concern there was that I built this shed for people to put their tools neatly organized so that they would save time looking for the proper screw and the proper screwdriver for each job. My main concern there was to find a solution to keep that solutions that when I would leave, then they would still use the system I put in place. And that was also the main concern of the organization, that if you leave, things don't fall apart. How would you tackle that with JiroVe?
That's a very valid point, and I feel that that's where a lot of the don't get me wrong, by you going there on itself will have already created a big impact, because you will have interacted with people there. They will, of which you will have learned an incredible lot, and they will have as well. So that on itself is you are creating an impact there. But then in terms of like the sustainability factor of it would all depend on like whether that depended on you just being there, or whether there's an organization for which you did it and that looked after the work that was done afterwards. I'm a very big fan of like putting in place models that are financially sound. Like I might be a social entrepreneur, but business like the financials need to be sound. Like we've already been break even in the past, and that's also my main way of how to prove that this market is attractive and is investable. If we would still rely on grants, then that would disprove my point. So yeah, that's I believe for something to be, if you really want to make an impact and you really want to do it on a large scale, it needs to be bottom up and it can't be top down. There's been this great initiative recently organized by the Prime Minister of India to they want to give access to electricity, to energy, to very, very large group of people. But then those initiatives are great, but you do have to find ways of how to get it to the people that need it the most. And I think what often goes wrong within the development sector is that the funds that are available are of such a large amount that the projects that could benefit of the most often are of a too small of a size to be eligible to get them. So that's something that's slowly now seems to be changing, but it's definitely something that has affected me in a big way as well.
Nice. Nice questions, all from young entrepreneurs here, students starting and thinking about idea. I just talked about it. What skills do they need to have, or what skills do you expect them to have to be a social entrepreneur?
It's easy. You can just think of all these things. You can make up a lot of barriers, right? You can wait until like you're perfect until you start. But the truth is, it's just you need to get started. And I've cheated a bit, I feel, because I feel like I've remained a student. And what I mean with that is that once I finished my master, I went straight to Kenya. I worked as an innovation lab manager there for Tasta for a year. And then I started this company here in Madagascar. And I feel that because I've never really, for too long, have gotten used to what it is like to work for another organization, I've remained a bit of a, in student mode. And I felt like that has helped me a lot. I have a lot of respect for people that, have already lived in Europe for a while, are used to certain standard, and then they would have to leave everything behind for something that's very unknown. So in my case, I would say to all the students that are listening right now, if you right now, right after your studies or already during your studies, I think that's the perfect moment to try something, because you don't really have something to lose. What is at stake? Whilst if you have already a family to provide for, or like you've already gotten used to your Ferrari, then yeah, it might be much harder to sacrifice. The cost might feel a lot higher to make such a move if you do it now.
Okay, that's nice to hear. And that,
to give you an idea, when I came to Madagascar, I didn't speak any French. That's the language here. So my French would be so terrible in the beginning that I would get French people to speak English, and that should tell you something about how bad my French was.
Nice. Yeah, and that line, a question about skills, but maybe also a learning. What did you learn, or what do you consider a failure in your operation that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, great question. You just need to think logically. If you just think logically, that already gets you so far, and trust your instincts on that. But at the same time, you also really do need to surround yourself with people that that are knowledgeable. I've been fortunate enough to have had great mentors that I got to learn a lot from. So that has helped me a great deal, because at times that you need other people that are outside of your own world to look at things in an objective way, and who are not subject to the same forces as you are subject to. So I feel that's really important, to surround yourself with people that can help you to go further. So yeah, and you learn a lot along the way. And there's a lot of fear involved when you start your own business. So many of these steps that you have to take at times feel very big or very intimidating. But then once you've taken the step and you've done it, it actually, you look back at it and it didn't turn out to be much. But I think it continues to be, I think, also better for entrepreneurs. It's a fine line between completely believing in what you're doing, between on the other hand, the fear of and there's a fear of failure as well.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that with us. We'll be running almost out of time. We have 5 minutes left. It's a risk, but I want to ask Joy to ask a final question, because you said you have a long list. Please choose one. And
it wasn't a question. It was a comment, more to agree with what we've heard from Rik. I fully agree with what he says about Africa. And Africa is not a place, it's a continent, and I think what I think is really, if he doesn't mind me saying so, I think what is so successful about him is that he actually lives and understands Madagascar, and that no matter how bad his French is, at least he's made an effort. So I think I really enjoyed what I've heard. So Rik, I will send you some information. It may take me a few days to do it, but I will send you some information which you may find helpful.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Joy, for your questions and remarks. Rik, final question, because I don't see any other questions in the chat coming up. If you look on the distance and you see a group of people talking about you, they don't talk about your big fancy car or your Hugo Boss suit. How do you want them to talk about you?
talk about legacy now. I would love to be remembered as someone who has made a difference, and I know already, of course, like that could be something, of course, could be saying right now. Yeah, I have a vision of like really being a significant part of solving this very pressing problem. So I would really love for people to see that I've been successful in doing that. So if we really manage to scale very much beyond of what we've been doing till date, that I think would be something that would be great. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing all this information with us. You already make a difference for a lot of people, I think, and I hope you put others to think how it can be different. You did it with me at least. So thank you for that. Good luck, and I certainly going to follow what your next steps will be. In between, I want to switch over back to Tim for your final words. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
From me, thanks again, Rik, for your really inspiring story. I personally really liked how you compared social entrepreneurship to yeah, let's say normal entrepreneurship. That's what I would call it, and how everyone should want to do good. I also liked how you told that you broke out of your comfort zone and kind of stayed in your student life. So really, yeah, thank you very much for your story.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Now, thank you all for attending. And yeah, if you have any follow-up questions, more than happy to follow up after this session.
Yeah, thank you, Rik. And also thanks, Peter, for hosting us. And if you all at home, if you thought that this was the last talk, of course not. We have some great talks for the coming weeks. The ones that I can now already announce are for next week. We have Sharam Sharif from Linda Care. In 2 weeks, we have Anke Huiskes from Aletta Angels. And in 3 weeks, we have Edwin Vlieg from Moneybird. And you can sign up via novelty.com/events, where you can also find some more information. But this link will now also be in the chat. So for the last words, thank you, Rik. Thank you, Peter. And I hope one of you at home to see you at one of the next startup talks. Thank you very much.